the last time that Indians were so riled up against IndiGo was when Mahatma Gandhi led that revolt against IndiGo plantation in 1915. So it
Very
was,
good,
so-
Anand. Very good.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
No, okay, it's not so bad. Because it's not
It's
just
not
a
terrible.
pun. It's not just a pun. It has historical and political context.
Clever. Yeah.
Pun
Good,
would
good.
be indigo ki batti boj ho gayi, indiglo ho gaya. Matlab, that is just pun. You just played with the word.
And that we should hate on. That is a
that
terrible
you can hate on
example.
because that's a pure pun. This is not a pure pun. This is actually
This is good.
this is good.
The top one, of course, is that a Kerala Sessions Court has acquitted actor Dileep in the 2017 abduction and sexual assault case that involves a woman actor.
Is it a question of this guy's too popular, too powerful? Courts are reluctant to kind of get in there, or is the investigation so shoddy that even if a court wants, he'll never be convicted because of how horribly the investigation has happened?
The motive. Let's take the motive. There were lots of witnesses who knew that there was a motive. The motive was basically anger that Dileep had towards a survivor, that she had informed his wife then, which is Manju Warre, again a very, very popular actor, I would say much popular than Dileep, about his affair with another actor, Kavya Madhavan. Around 5 film actors and film industry people who knew that Dileep was angry, 2 people who had heard him threatening her, told the court that they haven't heard it. They turned hostile. And we are not talking about just actors. There was a production control person called Shine. There's a CPIM MLA, Mukesh, who's also a popular actor. And the judge had this report for 2 years that the memory card has been accessed by somebody. So you're not supposed to open the memory card unless it is for purpose of hearing. Then these people push for an inquiry, and imagine who goes to court saying there should be no inquiry on the memory card. Dileep. What is his locus stand? What is his purpose of telling the court, don't investigate who opened the memory card?
I'm not as familiar with Kerala as I am with Tamil Nadu, but I do think it has fundamentally changed the way society thinks. I think it's far from sufficient, but there is a moving of the needle when it comes to conversations on sexism in the workplace, about misogyny, about a movement that has started, and I think nothing should take away from that. I think people forget that Kerala is deeply patriarchal because we're so used to comparing it to our Hindi brothers and sisters and saying, oh, at least we're doing so much better. There is a social justice movement. And I do think in many ways Kerala has made strides from its very brutal and medieval societal mores.
What has led to this duopoly? Is it inevitable? How much of it is bad policy and how much of it is just how businesses are run in India in a very cavalier manner?
So there are about 1,131 routes that exist in India, right? And so if you take Delhi to Mumbai is one route, Mumbai to Delhi is another route, right? And so on and so forth. So there's 1,131 sectors or routes, and IndiGo flies in 900 of this. That is nearly 80% of that. Of that 900, IndiGo runs as a monopoly on 514 routes.
My
right?
God.
So that translates to 57%. So 57% of the route that IndiGo flies in, it has a monopoly.
This Japanese tourist goes to New York for a holiday, and he one day goes and changes a certain amount of yen, and he gets a particular exchange rate. Next day he goes changes some more yen, and that American at the other counter gives him a different rate, and third day he goes, he gets yet another rate. So he's really pissed off. He thinks he's being scammed. So he says, why get different rate on different days? Sorry, I'm being racist with the Japanese accent.
Oh, don't do it, Abhinandan, don't do it.
So the American says, fluctuation, he says, fuck you Americans as well. So...
But on that note...
Welcome to Chota Hafta. Now, Chota Hafta is but a small, chota version of a complete weekly podcast, Newslaundry Hafta. The Newslaundry Hafta is where you get the week's news, what made the headlines, what didn't make the headlines, but the full version is available to subscribers only. And I don't mean YouTube subscribers, although YouTube subscribers are also very welcome, very, very grateful to you, but also to Newslaundry subscribers, the paying subscribers who pay to keep news free. So you can also become a paying subscriber by clicking the subscription link. Now, what do you get if you're a paying subscriber? You get access to all our paywall content, all interviews, podcasts, and importantly, you get access to a full unedited Hafta, where you not only get to hear the week's news, but you get to hear the Newslaundry editors' positions on matters. You get to see their biases, what are their prejudices. It's an exercise in transparency while also informing you, and we have a few quips and jokes and agreements and disagreements thrown in. So listen to the full Hafta, subscribe to Newslaundry, and pay to keep news free. Here we go.
अंग्रेज अपना लगान और न्यूज लॉन्ड्री अपना हफ्ता कभी न छोड़ते. Welcome to another episode of Hafta from Delhi. We're recording this at 11 in the morning on Friday the 12th of December, and the AQI is back in the 500 range with watery eyes and headaches and stuffy noses at a time when our Chief Minister Rekha Gupta clearly has no clue what AQI is, considering she says it can be measured on like temperature. So we are stuck in the shit leadership that we have. So on that optimistic note, let me tell you what to look forward to on this podcast. There is the ever optimistic Jayashree and Anand, the combination of optimists that people
Truly
die
a
for.
killer combination today to lift your spirits on the weekend. Yes.
Lift your spirits. So Jayashree, thank you for joining us from Chennai. I hope it's better there than it is in Delhi.
It is better, but I will warn you that I'll be coughing a lot, but that is because I have a cold. So
I see. Well, then you should be colding a lot, not coughing. With that uncle
please.
joke out of the way, Anand, Vardhan, have
Hello.
you been to Bihar recently? Have you been in Delhi suffering the air here?
I have been here only.
Okay, chalo. Theek hai. So, and our first guest has already joined us. Dhanya Rajendran. Hello, Dhanya. Where are you? Are you in Bangalore, Kochi, or elsewhere?
No, I'm in Kochi now. So yeah.
I see. I'd like to point you towards two, or Dhanya will tell me maybe there are three by the time this goes on air, online. Stories done on what we're going to be discussing in this episode as well. The verdict of the rape, kidnapping, and assault of a star in the Malayalam film industry. Pulsar Suni and 5 accomplices were convicted, whereas superstar Dileep was acquitted. We have 2 stories online, right? Right now, Dhanya? Or there are 3
4,
already?
I think.
There are 4. Okay,
5.
the other 2. 5.
5.
Okay, 5.
5
So,
profiles. As in, we have lots of small news stories, but we have 5 big profiles.
so the links to those are in the show notes below. And this kind of journalism, to pursue a story like this relentlessly, in fact, some of our journalists under the able leadership of Dhanya have been following this for years, not days, weeks, or months. And the reason we can do journalism like that, which is truly taking the powerful to task, holding power to account, is possible because you support our journalism, not because we depend on any government advertising or large corporate advertising or paid for pieces by film promotional teams, which is also becoming quite a thing these days. So the QR code is here. The link is in the show notes. Do support our journalism so that our reporters have the resources to do what journalism should be doing. Right. Can we get the headlines and then get into the discussion?
Lots of loopholes in the case, right? And nobody is saying that this is a perfect case. Or there can be no perfect conspiracy cases. We have seen in the Kausalya Shankar case in Tamil Nadu, in so many terror cases, right? It is the person who executes it finally who's punished. Even in the Dhabolkar and so many of the cases, we have seen that it is even Gauri Lankesh case. The conspirator is never a part of the case as much as the person who did it is. We don't think in Gauri Lankesh's case, probably most of the conspirators will never get punished. Now here, the motive. Let's take the motive. There were lots of witnesses who knew that there was a motive. The motive was basically anger that Dileep had towards a survivor, that she had informed his wife then, which is Manju Warre, again a very, very popular actor, I would say much popular than Dileep, about his affair with another actor, Kavya Madhavan. Around 5 film actors and film industry people who knew that Dileep was angry, 2 people who had heard him threatening her, told the court that they haven't heard it.
Dhanya, could you also explain, like, you did that long story on Judge Honeybergis and all the issues that were connected with her, including what memory card and an audio clip and all. So that, and also the fact that 2 public prosecutors resigned during the course of this case. So,
yeah, I mean, how many cases have we heard where public prosecutors have quit and written to court saying that there is bias by the judge? And the state itself goes to court against the judge. See, it is not just the survivor or the public prosecutor on a personal basis. The Department of Prosecution, which is part of the state government, has gone to the Supreme Court saying change the judge. 7 times petitions have been filed. So the first instance, the public prosecutor, his name was Sureshan, he resigns because there is this friend of the survivor, her name is Bhama. Bhama is a witness who had told the police that I saw Dileep threatening the survivor. She comes to court and she says, I can't remember this. So the prosecution is shocked because this is a very close friend of the survivor. In fact, the survivor has told me that for her, the biggest setback was when this close friend changed her statement. So then the prosecution wanted to play her, all her police statements were recorded on video, right? So the prosecution wanted to confront her playing that video in court. The judge did not give permission. Then that fight escalated over the next 2 days to the extent that the judge said, what is happening here is not prosecution, it is prostitution.
What does that mean?
She just said in Malayalam, ഇവിടെ നടക്കുന്ന prosecution അല്ല prostitution ആണ്.
I strongly encourage everyone to read the reporting that's been done by the News Minute and that's also been published on Newslaundry, because if you don't follow the case very closely, and I also don't know the nuances of it in the way that Dhanya and her team would, but then the sort of nitty-gritty that you get out of it is so shocking and eye-opening. This entire thing about the memory card, also the fact that there was, I think one of your stories said that there was an audio clip on Dileep's phone which had references to Judge Honey's husband being involved in a custodial torture case, and just the mere existence of that and that not being probed or questioned or interrogated in any way is astonishing. So I feel it just essentially tells us two major things. One is that how truly you can purchase justice in this country, that too in a very so-called progressive left-run state where the government has also come out in support of the survivor, but it still shows the levers that are available to the power, and they are multifarious. And I think with enough money and influence, there are so many ways in which you can get away with what you want.
As far as survivor is concerned, she has to file an appeal now in the High Court. That is her next thing. But we are almost sure that there is going to be a lot of litigation now. Dileep is going to litigate. He's saying there's a conspiracy against him. The judge is now saying she will litigate. So for whoever is going to face that litigation, they'll have to face it, which is, if it is us, yeah. So that's all. I think this is not the end of it. But like Jayashree said, this has started, this case and the aftermath of it did start a dialogue in Kerala about gender justice. And in no way can one setback in court be allowed to shadow that. The repercussions of this case is much bigger than the case itself. It has beckoned change in Kerala society, though it's very small, highly patriarchal society, and a small change started. That cannot be pushed back now by people saying that, oh, all cases are false, or, there's no point in all this and stuff. So I think for us, the main thing right now is to resist that.
Civil Aviation Minister has given an interview to Rajdeep Sardesai as well, that there was basically a policy change of how much minimum downtime or rest time pilots were to have, or crew was to have between flights. And since that increased, they would need more pilots. The government says the airlines were given this information 2 years ago. IndiGo refused to hire more pilots. So when the date that this policy would come into effect happened, they did not have enough pilots to cater to that new rule. So it is squarely on them. They knew 2 years before, and they kept trying to play chicken with the government, who will blink first.
There are multiple issues here, and each one I think is fascinating on its own right, because you have to go back and say, okay, how did this come about in the first place? And this was basically, there was a pilot union that went to the Delhi High Court and asked for such rules to be made. Now, the Delhi High Court by itself can't make, legislation. So they kept prompting DGCA to make these rules. And DGCA then followed suit after quite some time and multiple prodding and reminders. They then made these rules called FDTL, which is Flight Duty Time Limitations. And they did this in January 2024, right? Now, I'll just take a small pause here to say, and please feel free to weigh in on this as well. Is it really, should the Delhi High Court be involved in all of this? Because this seems to be a matter of, one is it's a matter of regulation, and then it's about, basically how much time the pilots work. In many other sectors, I mean, you look at software engineers or so on, there's private negotiations that happen in terms of work week and contracts and so on. Labor laws don't really apply there. Now, the only justification you can say is that if a pilot is extremely, is tired or fatigued and has not had enough rest time, then it is a matter of safety and concern to everybody, right?
Life and death. And sorry, is it consistent? The hours that they want, are they consistent or typical of international norms? Or
no, because India is finally coming into global norms for the safety of passengers. India until now has been so far behind that we have been a laughingstock in the aviation sector, because the demands that are coming in through these new legislations are fairly basic. You're saying that your weekly rest period is increased from 36 to 48 hours. You're saying that you need, in a 24-hour period, you need a minimum of 10 hours of rest. You're saying that if you are doing night landings in a week, instead of doing 6 night landings in a week, which is absurd, you can only do 2. So you are capping the number of
so
hours
basically
they work,
it is
because
consistent.
This is also something that pilots since the Mangalore crash took place, and that was 15 years ago, pilots have been talking about the need for mandatory rest in the aviation sector in India, except that we never got it.
But I tried to do a back of the envelope kind of calculations, if you'd allow me. I think this entire IndiGo fiasco, just to kind of put a number on how much it would cost, only up to Friday, right? I did this on Friday evening when I was writing this op-ed. I think it's cost about 1,000 crores to passengers just until Friday. And this includes the surge pricing costs. So people who have, what I'd call as a desperation premium, about, 2,100 flights were cancelled. And, you imagine about 160 passengers in each flight.
Right.
That takes it to about, I can't do the math immediately, but about 7 lakh odd passengers. Each one of them, about 40% of them would have rebooked at a desperation premium at about 20K. The numbers are staggering, right? Because each person would have paid that much more. Then there's the entire abandoned trip. So a lot of people would have said, okay, I can't afford the new kind of cost, so I'm just going to go home and cancel the trip. But they won't get refunds on
hotels, a lot of that, exactly.
All of that, right? And that's again a whole bunch of sunk costs which are gone now. That what crystallizes the sunk costs, that's about another 200-250 crores. And then there's a lost productivity. Each flight, there was delays of the flights that actually went ahead. There were delays over 6 to 8 hours. Many other people waited in the airport for a day, 2 days, thinking that there would be alternatives, etc. If you take even a modest thing of an average person who flies, let's say their time is valued at 500 rupees an hour, right? Which is a fairly modest kind of estimation. That itself will come up to about 500 odd crores, right? In terms of lost productivity.
बस मुफ्त में इतना ही मिलेगा. For the full uncut podcast, subscribe to Newslaundry and pay to keep news free. The best way to listen to the Hafta and indeed all our podcasts is through the Newslaundry app. You can download the app by clicking on the links given in the show notes. So do download our app and get the best podcast experience. And also pay for news and support a new news media ecosystem that Newslaundry is trying to encourage, where we are accountable to you because we run on contributions that you make. We don't take government ads, we don't take corporations ads, so that news serves the public, because when the public pays, the public is served. Subscribe to Newslaundry, click on the link in the show notes below and proudly say, I pay to keep news free.